I still remember the sound of the excavator tearing through the old cedar walls my grandfather built by hand. It sounded like someone slapping the memory of my whole family right across the face. The HOA called it an essential act for the community's good. But every splinter on that ground was a piece of my past they crushed without a second thought. They smiled, thinking their authority gave them the right to bulldoze whatever they didn't like. What they didn't know was that I had a piece of paper in my pocket that would flip their little empire upside down. My name's Ethan Rivera. I'm 33, and I've spent almost 15 years as a geological surveyor. I trust boundary lines and old deeds more than I trust smooth-talking people in nice blazers. A few years back, I sunk all my savings into a piece of lakefront property out here at Rockwell Lake, an old cabin, nothing fancy, tucked between pines and the soft slap of water on the dock. It smelled like cedar and freedom. It was my place to breathe, and the last living piece of my grandfather's work. Then came Melody Grant. Melody was new to Rockwell Estate. But she came in hot. A former corporate attorney, laid off in a downsizing, divorced, bitter, and desperate to feel important again. So she turned all that pent-up ambition onto this quiet lakeside neighborhood. In 6 months flat, she talked herself into being the HOA president, selling people a dream about turning Rockwell Lake into some five-star resort paradise with walking trails, a fancy clubhouse, and lakefront dining. It sounded nice. Until you realized she planned to build it right on top of my cabin. One Tuesday morning in March, I found a thick certified letter in my mailbox, big shiny HOA seal, legal language. Threats dressed up as community standards. Apparently, my cabin didn't match the new earth tone paint requirement that showed up out of nowhere. My handmade fence was visually disruptive. My gravel driveway, which had been there for decades, was now causing drainage issues. And my old wooden dock needed urgent safety upgrades. Each violation, $200 a day. Fix it in 10 days. Or the fines doubled every week after. I sat at my kitchen table that whole night, reading every line of the HOA covenants like I read geological maps, detail by detail. What I found made my teeth clench. The original rules were simple, fair, and protected old structures like mine. But Melody had slipped in updates buried inside, reminder newsletters, no one ever voted on. She was rewriting the rules mid-game. By the next weekend, she showed up herself. Melody wore a crisp white blazer and black heels that sank straight into my gravel like the universe mocking her. 2 board members followed behind her with cameras as if they were CSI agents at a crime scene. She pointed at my roof, my porch, even my bird feeders. Then she turned to me and said in that lawyer tone, "Mr. Rivera, this isn't a backwoods camping site. We have standards here that protect everyone's property value. This structure doesn't meet them. Cooperate, or we'll handle it for you." She gestured at my cabin like it was trash. They took pictures of my carved door frame my grandfather built. They didn't see history, just a speed bump in their big plan. A week later, she sent a mass email to all 200 residents with the subject, "Non-cooperative owner threatens community progress." It didn't name me, but everybody knew. She attached mock-ups showing the beautiful new walking path and clubhouse, with my cabin photoshopped out like it never existed. People stopped waving. Bill, who used to lend me his power washer, walked his dog past my place like I didn't exist. I overheard my neighbor Susan at the store whispering that some folks don't understand living in a community means compromise. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I did what I do best. I measured. I launched my drone, ran a full topographic survey. My eyes don't lie, and neither do GPS coordinates. The numbers told me the same story the old deed did. This land, from the cabin all the way down the bank, was mine, fair and square. Not public space. Not HOA playground. Mine. But Melody didn't care about maps. She lawyered up with a big firm out of the state capitol and sent me a cease and desist letter. She said my cabin was illegally occupying public waterfront and demanded I tear it down in 48 hours or face criminal trespass charges. I called her, calm but firm. "Show me the boundary survey." "Melody, prove it's public." She laughed. "We don't have to prove the obvious, Mr. Rivera. Cooperate or pay for a long court battle you won't win." Then she hung up. That night, I knew what I had to do. I went to the county clerk's office. I pulled the original 1955 land grant my grandfather signed. I cross-checked every inch with my drone data. Everything lined up. There was no mistake. The land the HOA claimed for their clubhouse and my cabin was legally mine. I installed cameras all around the cabin for proof. Melody filed a complaint with the sheriff that I was spying on neighbors. The irony almost made me laugh. She'd been photographing me for months but couldn't stand being on camera herself. Then came the final blow. I was away for 2 days on a mineral rights survey job upstate. I came home Friday night to find my cabin, my grandfather's cabin, reduced to splinters and sawdust. An excavator still sat there, idling next to the ruins. And Melody was there too. Perfect blazer, perfect smirk, and a phone live-streaming the whole thing to her followers. Rockwell Estate is reclaiming public land and removing unauthorized structures, she said into the camera, walking through my smashed furniture like it was junk. When she saw me, she brushed sawdust off her sleeve and smiled. Go ahead and sue, Ethan. Our lawyers are ready. You should have torn that shack down yourself months ago. I didn't yell. I didn't lunge at her. I just looked her dead in the eye and said, "Thank you, Melody. Now the site's clear for a new survey. You just made my job easier." For 3 days, I ran a full professional survey right on that raw ground. GPS, ground-penetrating radar, drone mapping, the works. Neighbors watched from their porches, whispering. Even old Mr. Patterson shuffled over with his cane and asked, "Son, are you rebuilding or suing the pants off these people?" I just smiled. "Both, sir. Both." Armed with bulletproof data, I hired Sarah Kim, the toughest real estate attorney in the Tri-County area. She looked at my documents and said, "They didn't just bulldoze your cabin, Ethan. They built half their $1 million clubhouse on your property without permission. This is a lawsuit they can't wiggle out of." Melody, oblivious, invited everyone to a big HOA meeting to celebrate the community's progress. I showed up with Sarah, the county surveyor, and Mr. Patterson as a witness. Melody stood in front of a packed room, projecting glossy slides of families enjoying her future lakeside paradise. The crowd clapped like she was royalty. Then it was my turn. I connected my laptop. Clicked one slide, the original 1955 survey with my boundaries highlighted in blazing red. Then the next slide, the new clubhouse footprint overlapping it by a mile. I said, "Calm as the lake at dawn. Everything you're applauding is built on private land you don't own. This cabin you tore down? Legal. The clubhouse you're building? Illegal." The room went silent. Melody turned pale. Her lawyer whispered something that made her knees buckle. Then Mr. Patterson rose, voice strong for 80 years old. I watched Ethan's grandfather stake that land myself. "This land never belonged to you people. Shame on you." Someone yelled, "Vote her out." Hands shot up everywhere. Melody's supporters evaporated like steam. 90% demanded her resignation right there. She stumbled out, red blazer wrinkled, mumbling about misunderstandings. A month later, she sold her house at a loss and left the state. Her fancy law license? Suspended for ethics violations and lying on HOA documents. I rebuilt my cabin, modern, open, but with that same smell of cedar my grandfather loved. I donated an easement so neighbors could still walk the lake path, legally, this time. I got elected HOA president, wrote new bylaws, made sure no one could ever pull a Melody again. Now I sit on my new deck at sunset, watching kids run along the shore, fishing poles bobbing where the bulldozer once sat. My land, my rules, our community finally fair. So if you were me, would you forgive Melody, or would you do exactly what I did? Drop a comment below. Tell me if you think I was right or wrong. And share this with anyone who thinks the greater good means they get to take what's yours. Sometimes the quietest people build the strongest fences, and they know exactly where the line is drawn.